Hello and good morning. My name is Rizal Aziz, all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And
And good
today
morning.
I'm so
My
excited.
name is Rizal Aziz, all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
I can hear myself in the background just now. There's some echo. All right, no worries. And I want to say a big thank you to Coach Love for bringing me onto the program, Epic Understanding. It is definitely an epic moment for me because I haven't been interviewed by someone from the US. And to be part of this particular campaign, we're talking about Global Positive Masculinity Campaign. And it's an amazing campaign to talk about, positive masculinity. I've never heard about it before, and I had to do some research. And Coach Love, asked me what topics I want to talk about. Imperfection. That is something that is very close to me. And I want to share with you how imperfection impacted my life, how I rose from the height of suicide. Now, I want to bring you back to the time when I was working in Japan. It was around 2013. I was there for about 7 years already, and I got promoted into a senior management role. Things were all rosy, good pay, good team members, everything was fast paced. I was enjoying it. Then suddenly, I hit a roadblock. Things weren't working out so well, high expectations, relationships were bad at home and at work. And, you know, I've been putting so much expectations on myself. Business was so good that business rose and expect a lot of people were hoping for me to be able to build on the business year on year. And there I was on the last train home on a cold winter in December. It was about 11:45 or so, and I remember that vividly. And I stood by the platform, at the edge of the platform, both my shoes, halfway out on the platform. I could already feel the subway or the train coming close because I can feel that wind coming towards you. And suddenly I heard a voice. It was the guy at the train station who called out my name and he said, "Hey, what are you doing there?" And that particular moment, it snapped to me that I was gonna jump, and I just pulled back. That was a memory that I'll always cherish, and it was, the lowest part of my life. So what I did the next day was I actually went out and spoke to one of my bosses, and her name is Miss Omori, very kind lady. And she listened to my story and she told me, "Rizal, you're putting so much expectation on yourself. That's very bad. You shouldn't do that. You can't be this person that you want to be. You have so much high expectation. It's impossible to achieve." And she told me this one word that really meant something to me, which is called Wabi Sabi. And Wabi Sabi is a very unique term, and you probably need to look it up online and find out what the real meaning is. But what it means is appreciating the beauty of imperfection and transience. It got me thinking, wow, okay, there is beauty in imperfection. All this while, I was young and naive then. Everything was all about being on the ball, being able to achieve targets, push myself. And then I'm a leader now. I'm the leader of the family. I'm a father, and I should be able to do all this. I can see it all around me. But the reality is, I was blinded. I thought that I can do everything. I was Mr. Do It All, but it's not the case. So Wabi Sabi taught me to really, really look into myself and understand where my imperfections are. And that has helped me change my life. So what I do now these days is I do speaking and I do corporate training, and I help develop new leaders. And I tell them the same thing that I went through, which is I wanted to commit suicide. I struggled because I had so much expectations of myself. But people always ask me, "Rizal, how does one, understand the imperfection?" I told them that there are a few things that you can consider. And I'm going to give you today the 5 tips that I use to be able to, declutter my thoughts and understand my own journey and realize that through the imperfection, you will actually achieve some form of perfection. That progression is very important. So the 5 points that I want to talk about is the 5 thinking skills. So one, throughout your journey, whenever you're facing struggle, always look at time. You are always an individual that moves through time. You go through the past, you go to the present and the future. If at any one point you feel that you're stuck, pick up a coin, an old coin, look up on the date, and remember back, wow, at this particular moment in time, what was I doing? What was the toughest thing that I went through? And then look back. Have you moved on from that particular moment? It was tough before, but those experiences, did it change who you are? Bring back to where you are now and compare it. And I find that very refreshing. So number one is time. Number two, location. Simple. In our lives, in our careers, we definitely move. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you move to different countries, different locations. You could have moved positions in the office, you could have moved different departments, or you can move to different companies and whatnot. In our journey to understand imperfection and to understand the struggles that we go through, just look back to the journeys that you went through. I always look back to my past. Whenever I was struggling, I knew that in my life, anything that happens to me, I'll be moving to different locations, and I will be reviewing what happened in those particular locations or the places that I've been. It helped me shapes my thought and my own issues that I know. So that you need to know in terms of location where you have moved and where you have progressed. The third one that I thought is very interesting is about knowing your environment. I always tell people that when you're in a moment of struggle and when you're not sure what's happening, try to see whatever that is around you and understand what is happening within the environment that you're in. So when I was struggling at work, I always thought that I am living in a world where it's fantasy land. I think that I could do a lot of things, but the reality is I didn't know, what I did impacted different peoples within the organization, different departments. I didn't know that I had people that I can reach out to and ask questions because I was blinded and I thought that I can do everything. So it's very important to know what is around you and how does these things be impacted by you. And after that, another one, fourth suggestion on how for you to manage your imperfection is the ability to zoom in and zoom out. Being able to see things from a different perspective. I like to call it the eagle eye. What I had with them during my time in Japan was I was so focused with myself, what I was intending to do, what the expectations were on me, but I was not able to see it from a different perspective. I was not able to see that actually I'm quite lucky in my particular role. I was able to impact lives. I was able to make changes and I didn't see that. I was always focused on the things that it was in front of me, the screen, the reports, the people that I work with, and that's it. If I was able to be able to zoom out, hey, actually, in my role, I was able to bring people from different parts of the world to come to Japan. I was able to speak to different people from different countries and learn about them. And I really discounted that fact. And because of that, I had, tunnel vision. And the fifth point that I think that was very critical for me when you talk about imperfection is be a fair judge. Every time I go through a problem at work or a problem in my life, I always tend to focus on the negative side of it. And that negative side really hits me hard. The reality is that when you want to be someone who's very focused about your own personal development, anything that happens to you, there'll always be a negative element in it, and there'll also be a positive thing that you can take out of it. And it's very hard. I get that. So even for me, when I thought about, I needed to take my life away and I wanted to commit suicide, I thought there was nothing that I can learn from it. But the reality was it gave me the opportunity to really look deep inside myself and understand that, hey, this experience taught me that I shouldn't be pushing myself the wrong way. I knew I had really good strength in me, but then I discounted my weaknesses. And I thought that I can just, forget about it. But the reality, those weaknesses was coming up and they were haunting me. And from that experience, I took away What were the positive that I learned from that particular night that can help me improve myself and avoid getting myself into that sort of predicament again? So those are the 5 tips that I use for myself to really, really understand the imperfections that I go through and how can I make progress within myself. And the
Thank
last
you.
point that I and the last point that I wanted to share is that there's this word in Japanese called kokoro, and kokoro means heart. And my former boss told me that, result, whatever that you do, you always have to put your heart in it. And if you look at the Japanese writing of the word kokoro, heart, it looks like a tiny little hook. And it's important that if you want to achieve what you want to achieve, is you got to put that hook on your passion and your belief and your values. And sometimes when you put that effort in there, it will definitely bring you somewhere. And throughout that journey, you will definitely struggle. And never discount the imperfections and the difficulties that you face when you're trying to make your way through that journey. That will just make you a better person by learning from the imperfections that you go through. That's all from me. And I'm going to bring back to Erica.
Thank you so much, Rizzo. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.